Combined 10 and 11 group briefing is now. Time is 0900 18th of April 42. Okay, so we'll crack on with the prelims. The time 17:35 Zulu, 08:35 hours. Just do a quick roll call. So let's start with Oxide.
Present.
Good. Gander.
Isn't.
Good. Presto. Yep, good. Presto's here. Shirt Blue.
Present.
340 Squadron.
Reset.
And the last one, 331.
Foxglove present.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, significant limitations. The weather is very poor today. So that could be an issue, whether it be we're down at low level and suddenly go through a break in the cloud and the Germans come from above, or we coast in and there's a particularly nasty rain shower and it limits visibility. Okay, warning order then, so that was disseminated on Thursday, Friday, as usual. So you should have had eyes on that had important information. And questions, we'll keep them to the end, please. Okay, environment, no change. Key areas, the Solent, the Needles, the Isle of Wight, Selsey Bill, Beachy Head, no real change. And Dungeness to the east. Battle space management, fairly complicated today. Rules of engagement are extant and as per on the PAM. Launch and recovery in accordance with the visual run-in and break, also unchanged. Freelance operations are in effect today, so that is where the OC has been given free reign over his tasking. The limits of that are the line that subtends Eastbourne through Caye-sur-Mer in the east. So if you imagine coming down from Eastbourne, you're not to go further east than that. The low level ceiling is 500 feet, so if you are operating at low level intending to avoid German radar, essentially you are to operate no higher than 500 feet. Realistically speaking, it's 750 feet for the long range Freyed search radar, but let's not go above 500 feet, please. Word on that as well, QNH, please use that for your reference, don't use QFE. So just to let you know what I mean, if you don't know, nearest friendly airfield on the HUD is QFE, and standard pressure setting, even though it's not standard because it's not 2992 or 1013, it's just what the game calls it, will correspond to the QNH, which is 1006 millibars today, giving you height above mean sea level. Italy and Kemley sectors are also conducting independent rhubarb operations today. The target areas should be deconflicted, however you may bump into them on the way in or out. A good example of that is we've got Mustangs doing phase recce. They coast out at the point we're going to coast out as well from our second phase operations, so we might see that. Ground control, air ops to be coordinated with GC or via 11 group guard, no change. Okay, Met, I've alluded to it already. It's absolutely honking. 9/10 alto-cumulus, stratocumulus, 5,500 feet, isolated embedded cumulonimbus. The surface wind 180 degrees at 3 knots. You can see coming in from the south between two lovely low pressure systems. The viz is 6 miles, so reduced. Temperature 55 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever that means. 1006 millibars, so low pressure rains. Local rain showers limited to those areas of high cloud buildup. Surprisingly, the sea state is actually fairly good given the weather. It's a 3, so if you do ditch, it's actually not going to be too bad. Just consider the direction that you're going to put it down though. So the wind blowing this way, swells are going to be obviously blowing left to right, so you need to be ditching west-east in order to land the aircraft as safely as you can. Okay, a little bit of warnings then. So local thunder and heavy rain possible. So essentially it's variable. Okay, situation then. So we've got a Mustang here. I've alluded to it already. We've got Mustang 1Bs operating alongside us today in the AO. It's only a 2-ship, but please don't shoot them down. They're very expensive and they've been a pain to get from the States. Friendly forces. Okay, let's go into operations then. So 16th of April 42, 2 days ago, a circus struck the railway at Dunkirk and the Pas-de-Calais area, where there was also a radio. The second circus, which we conducted, took place to Le Havre and dealt damage to the power station. However, we did sustain some losses. The second element of that was a Hurry bomber ramrod to Maupertus airfield, which was a total success with no casualties to the bombers and several enemy aircraft claims shot down. 91 Squadron also had success on the RATS patrol, successfully intercepting and shooting down an enemy fighter bomber believed to be a 109. On the 17th of April 42, so yesterday, this saw 4 circus operations taking place in which over 600 sorties were flown. The targets were Marquis Petrol Factory, Calais Parachute Factory, Cherbourg Docks, and the Rouen Power Station. In spite of this, only 2 aircraft were lost on our side, which is good. However, from what I can see, the intelligence officer said that only 2 aircraft were claimed across all of that. So clearly our efforts to try and get the enemy into sustained fighting were unsuccessful, and it's something we need to work on today. Okay, in terms of enemy fighter bomber activity yesterday, there was nothing significant to report. This morning saw some small, low-level rhubarb operations, and they've all been conducted without casualties so far. Okay, in terms of fragged air ops today then, Ibsley, Kenley and Biggin Hill squadrons will conduct a small number of rhubarbs throughout the period at flight or section strength. The reason that this is taking place is essentially the large circus operations have been cancelled due to the terrible weather. We can still fly basically, so we're going to do some smaller scale stuff in lieu of that. As already mentioned, 26 Squadron Mustang 1B's 2 ships are conducting photo recce in the Seine estuary, so that's the big estuary just south of Le Havre. They're going up to Rouen, coasting in at Trouville, which is southwest of the estuary, coasting out at Quippeville, which is just west of Dieppe, and is going to be the direction we're aggressing from that operation onto the second phase. Okay, quick word on friendly maritime activity. There are 3 freighters and 1 Royal Navy destroyer in the Solent, 1 freighter south of Brighton, and 2 Royal Navy destroyers and 2 freighters south of Dungeness, and they're steaming into the Straits of Dover. The Royal Navy has not made any request for air cover. Okay, enemy forces then, as you can see, sporadic contact with enemy aircraft in Dunkirk and Pas-de-Calais area in response to those circuses and the ramrods. Enemy 109s bombed and strafed targets in the Eastbourne area. That was 2 days ago. Yesterday, the enemy responded to friendly ops with 200 sorties, but no incursions by enemy fighter bombers. And we've already mentioned that they didn't really get stuck in. Enemy maritime activity. There is 1 Kriegsmarine destroyer escorting several merchant ships north of Cherbourg, which is the target for our first roadstead. And there is 1 group of cargo ships north of Le Tréport, which is the target, the second roadstead. Okay, missions, as already mentioned, 10-11 group tasks, as well as a ad hoc 2 group task, is centered around the roadstead to Cherbourg. This is being conducted by 107 Squadron Boston, so that's in this area. There is a low ramrod to Longueville to hopefully interdict a VIP train. Intelligence reports that there's a realistic possibility that Goering himself is on board, so that's a high priority, and that is this area just here. There is a roadstead to Le Tréport conducted by 175 Squadron, and that's down here to intercept that second group of enemy shipping. And finally, there are freelance rodeos and rhubarbs, largely in this area here, being conducted by 10 and 11 Group, as well as further east by those other sectors. Okay, as already mentioned, the concept of operations is 2-pronged control of the air in order to allow our attackers to operate at best effort, and then naturally, secondary to that is the attackers hitting those pre-planned targets. Command 6, published in the water already, should be aware of it. No change, so I won't labour the point. You should all know those comms channels already. We have full coverage on factor control. It's that single call sign today, there's not 2. I suppose the only real thing to mention is that 107 Oxide are to vacate the op channel once their bomb's complete on that first roadstead in order to clear the area clear the airways rather for Gander to conduct that freelance radio. And then the other element is 107 Oxide are operating on their D channel for the Barfleur attack on second phase. In fact, I will mention that because it is important. What we're going to do today, guys, if we are low level, it's predominantly those units that are fragged to fly with myself. We're going to try and limit the comms in preparation for phase 2. Ultimately, I don't want people getting lost. The visibility is terrible. First, and in addition, if it is your first sortie, I appreciate that will be incredibly difficult. So just try and limit it as much as possible, please. But we do need to start trying to work up to what they did in the second phase of this campaign if we're going to emulate it properly. Spit 5, no changes. We're operating con op today, big crossing. So it's 35 for the Joker, 25 for the Bingo. Okay, threat, quick word then. So these are the airfields that are pertinent to us. We've also got Dieppe up in the north, just off map here, to consider. The enemy air order of battle remains unchanged. It's the 109, the 190. The squadron intelligence officer has not changed his assessments or come up with anything new, really. Essentially, the 109 is expected to operate predominantly in the defensive counter-air role, with established patrols here and here, using its climb rate to get up above ourselves and then dive in. The 190 seemingly appears to be concentrated to the Pas-de-Calais area off map up to the northeast, so I don't think we'll meet it in an air-to-air role. And the last thing to mention is obviously the 190. It seems to be favoured for the tip and run stuff at the moment, although there was a 109 tip and run yesterday. So essentially, things can change, but we're expecting the 109 to be our greatest threat. Okay, surface to air. So some more things to consider today with the low-level stuff. The long-range radar horizon. That doesn't really make sense, does it? Essentially, the long-range radar Freya has a detection over the horizon of 750 feet. So you are not to exceed 500 feet. That's guidance from the INTO. And in addition, ground observers and the closer tracking radar, the Würzburg, are likely to pick you up between 2 and 3 miles from the coast. For safety, I would say if you're within visual range of the coast, i.e. 5 to 6 miles, I would assume that you've been spotted at that point. For the low-level bombers, we've already discussed this, but they're going to continue on to obfuscate themselves along the grounds, so they'll continue at low level. But if you're a fighter unit bombing on at low level, crossing the coast, you probably just want to get up to cloud base. Okay, AAA, heaviest around the ports, major infrastructure, etc. And obviously, this is a concern for us as we operate at low level in those rhubarbs today. Okay, OCs to brief then. So can I get OC 107 Squadron to brief his Bidstead, please?
Yes, sir. So we are manning aircraft at 9 o'clock. We are preparing to set up and take off. We'll probably be taking off a little bit after 9:15 just because we want to take some extra time to get to target. Time on target is planned to be 9:50, so Gander can start their attack at around the same time. We'll attack the shipping off the coast, prioritizing first the destroyer and then hitting the cargo ships. Then we'll turn back and run for home. Time to target should be about 15 minutes and about the same on the way back.
Excellent, thank you. How long do you anticipate to loiter over the target for, just for Gander?
Excellent question. I would say ideally 10 minutes maximum, but ideally 5 minutes in and out as quick as we can.
Okay, perfect. That sounds good. Obviously, Gander can let you know what's going on in terms of enemy aircraft in the area.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Okay, Gander then, can you tell us what you're going to do to protect them?
Yeah, Roger. So we're going to fly a feint at high altitude towards the harbour to make it look like all the actions towards the eastern part of that area. So similar to last week's mission, we're going to head out from Chelsea on a bearing of 148. And we're going to head 3/4 of the way across the channel before doing a sharp turn towards the west, towards the target area that the Raiders, that Oxide is hitting. So the timing for that, we're going to push from our RV from Chelsea at 0920. So we're going to expect our turn to be at 0936. And that will put us over the target area about 5 minutes before Oxide gets there. The idea is we either want to draw the enemies towards the east, either engage them there, keep them away from the target area. Alternatively, if we don't manage to engage them, then we'll fly cap over your area and we'll assume that you'll be egressing by 1000 hours.
Okay, good. This worked well for me last week on a similar tasking, so I hope it goes well for you. I think you said you're above clouds, so we'll get tangled up there.
Yes.
Roger. Okay, perfect. Let's move on. Okay, on to my bit then. So 65 Squadron. So we're launching from Tangmere, what we're going to do is we're going to climb up to 5,500 feet overhead Selzey-Bill with reduced RT. From there, I'm going to fly down to approximately mid-channel. And the idea with this is I can continue to receive picture updates from GC to see what the enemy's doing, expecting a group to marshal at Le Havre, a group potentially at Maupertus, and a group east of there. My focus will be the Le Havre group. What I'll do is once I hear what the enemy's doing, I'll look to position myself to engage them. The clever bit, or at least I'm hoping the clever bit, will be I will descend to low level. Then I will make my turn, so the enemy on radar will lose me, and they can't know which direction I've gone, whether I've gone over to Maupertus or whether I'm going to Le Havre. So I'll continue on a southeasterly heading to approximately this position here, just off the coast. I'll commit a right turn and then climb at buster power, doing a comms check-in at that point, and look to cross the coast. If I have already sighted the enemy at any point here, I will look to immediately engage them, ideally in the pattern unawares, but preferably not directly over the head of the airfield, but engage them from a position of surprise. If I haven't sighted them, I'll continue to coast in between the flak areas here, and then look to meet up with the Bolbeck Yvetot rhubarb, which is being conducted by 340 Squadron, egressing with them as we near my index time. As for what that is, it's 10:10. So approximately 20 minutes before I need to be down, and then we'll be coasting out to RTB Friston. Okay, OC 340 Squadron, please.
Yeah, August is performing a low rhubarb today, operating out of Ford Alpha. We're flying down through the Bolbeck Yvetot area, attacking targets of opportunity, and our time on target is 9:40, and RTB time is 10:10.
Okay, good stuff. So like I say, we'll work closely together. Hopefully either I'll have engaged your group here, feet wet, or I'll be fighting with you over this area here. Okay, 331 Squadron, briefly please.
Yep, we are leaving Friston and launching at 0950. We expect to be on target at 10:08 at Villette-sur-Mer. We will head along the coast looking for targets of opportunity at 75 meters or 250 feet. And we will go as far as Etitra, at which point we will turn around and look for any additional mopping up as we head back to Villette-sur-Mer and stay on station until we've expended our ammunition, and then make sure that we return in time for put down. We'll be off station at 10:30 and putting down at 10:50.
Brilliant, thank you. Shirt Blue, very briefly please, what you're doing.
Shirt Blue takes off from Tangmere 0950 hours, and then we'll arrive just north of the rhubarbs at 10:15. Our first objective here is to clear Presto and August of any pursuing bandits and make sure that they get home safely. If this is done or never happens, then we'll continue to patrol on low level along the coast and potentially harass or attack bandits trying to utilize the Havre airfield to land and recover. On our way, as a third objective is to intercept any bandits or reinforce Foxglove in their rhubarb if they have any bandits intercepting them. We will RTB 10:40 and be back and land at no later than 11:00.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, on to the next one then. I'll tell you what, I'll brief all of it because we're out of time. What we're doing is there is a low-level ramrod to hopefully find Goering on a train. The position of that is just south of Dieppe here at Trouville. So what we're going to do is the Hurricane bombers of 174 Squadron, Forsyth Creeper, and myself, 65 Squadron Presto, taking off from Friston. We'll give way to the Hurry bombers. They'll get airborne first. We're looking to RV at the bill with no radio chatter really by 10:55 hours, pushing by 1100 hours, arriving overhead the target at 11:22 hours. At that point, when I've coasted in, I'll climb up to Cloud Base in order to cover the bombers sitting directly above them to their port and starboard. We'll do a comms check-in, and then at that point we'll go full green on the comms. Thereafter, they're going to coast in, fly direct south to this area, hopefully engage this train, continuing down to this rail junction here, again engaging targets of opportunity as required, and then they'll coast out via Weeville back to Friston. The other elements of this is the rodeo. So this is to hit the shipping. This is by 175 Squadron, also going from Friston. They'll be spawning 15 minutes after us, so there's no traffic to affect. They'll fly southeasterly, heading here down to engage the shipping, and then fly back. I'll contact them via guard if, to coordinate the recovery, because obviously we'll have 3 units recovering back at Friston. So I'll speak to you, Paddy, on guard as for what the order is. Then you've also got Shirt Blue. Shirt Blue's job is to cover all of the withdrawing forces just here, and also protect the low-level radio. What they're going to do is come out of Tangmere after they rearm, refuel, and then essentially just patrol this area, protecting the ships, and then also, as I already said, covering our withdrawal. The last element is a 107 Squadron air interdiction mission to hit the port at Barfleur. This is being conducted by 2 groups, so it's independent of us, but within our sort of comms channels. They're going to fly down, time on target of 11:37 hours, tap this port, and then get out of there as quickly as possible. Okay, RS service support, no change. These are the airfields that are available to you, all in the briefing. We're landing on the southerly runway today. The wind is 180, and I suppose the only other thing to mention is that 133 Squadron only have access to the rearm refuel point at Tangmere and replacement aircraft, because their sortie spans the entire 2 phases. Are there any questions?